One of the common functions that all living things have is gas exchange for respiration. Now, if you'll think about it, remember back from first semester, we need oxygen so that cellular respiration can produce ATP, which gives us energy. And we also, in this process of cellular respiration, produce carbon dioxide as a waste product. And this is through cellular respiration. Now, different organisms have different ways of accomplishing this function, including membranes, body surfaces, gills, trachea, and lungs. And you've spent some time taking a look at how the different organisms do this. You might have noticed that membranes, it works like simple diffusion. But this only works with small organisms like amoebas. And when you think about this, think about how larger organisms are going to need other ways to get the diffusion to happen faster. Imagine each of these sides of this cube as a door. And you have 6 doors to get into this small room. You could get to the center of that room very quickly. But if you look at the 8-centimeter cube, which has maybe, again, just 6 doors again, but a longer distance to get into the center. And the bigger and bigger you get, the harder it is to get to the center of whatever it is you're trying to get into quickly. That's why the bigger organisms need some tricks. One of the ways that organisms also have gas exchange is simply through their body surface. So they might have some small capillaries that feed into that surface. Things like earthworms, they do their gas exchange through all over their skin. Another way is tracheal systems. Now they have these openings on the body surface that let the air in, and this air carries the air directly to the cells and allows for gas exchange. You'll see this in the grasshoppers that you looked at. Gills are another way to increase that surface area, allowing for more gas exchange. You see these in fish, crayfish, clams, sea stars, and marine worms. Now, you'll notice something about fish gills, because fish need more oxygen than invertebrates. As a result, they're going to have more gill areas, a larger surface area, more spots for gases to get in and out. And the faster fish will need more gas exchange, and therefore they will have more gills. Lungs, like what we have, are ingrowths within the body. And they have lots of tubes and small openings that allow that gas exchange that happens inside, but then to be transported to the rest of the body. Our gas exchange happens with a combination of our respiratory and circulatory systems. Today, we're going to focus on the respiratory system. The organs in our respiratory system are the mouth and nose, epiglottis, the trachea, lungs, diaphragm, and pleural cavity. The function of the respiratory system is to bring oxygen into the body and make it accessible to the bloodstream. The alveoli in the lungs are going to pick up carbon dioxide waste as it goes through the bloodstream and get it out through exhaling. So again, the respiratory system also functions as a way for us to get rid of waste. One of the key things about the structure of our lungs is the large surface area that allows for gas transfer. We see this diffusion that happens between the alveoli in the lungs and the capillaries. Again, we're talking about carbon dioxide and oxygen moving from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. You're going to breathe in the oxygen. Obviously, when you initially breathe it in, the higher concentration of oxygen is going to be in your lungs and the alveoli, and the lower concentration of oxygen should be in the blood. And the oxygen will move out of the lungs with the high concentration into the blood with the low concentration. The opposite is happening with carbon dioxide. The higher concentration of carbon dioxide is in the blood and the lower concentration in the lungs, so it's moving from the blood into our lungs in the alveoli. When we think about how the respiratory system helps us to maintain homeostasis, we can think about a lot of different examples. For one, it regulates the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood. And if you'll remember, carbon dioxide can be acidic, so when that's going to affect the pH, and we have a very narrow range in which we can exist for a pH. So as we exhale that waste carbon dioxide, that's maintaining homeostasis. It also provides oxygen, which is used in burning fuel to obtain energy, which is necessary for life's functions. But let's think about how something could change in our environment that would impact respiration. For example, cold air. So the cold air is going to cause the airways to constrict or get smaller, tighten up. This means less air is going to get in and out, which means we have to compensate for that, reverse the direction of the change. So we will increase our breathing or increase our breathing rate. You're also going to need more oxygen to fuel and maintain our body temperature, keep it at that 98.6 degrees. So that's also going to require an increased breathing rate. People with respiratory problems, or those when you're exercising out in the cold, you're going to be impacted even more. What about changes in the oxygen level? Normally we see about 21% in our air, and that's true in high altitudes as well. But without with the pressure being lower, the higher up in altitude, you're going to have less access to that oxygen. So our body's only really detecting the levels of carbon dioxide in our body. The low levels of oxygen aren't going to really be detected. So what you're going to see is this lack of oxygen. You might not even realize it, and all of a sudden you're going to have spotting in your eyes, mental confusion, weakness, nausea, and possibly death. Moving on tomorrow, we're going to discuss gas exchange and how that happens with the circulatory system.